Welcome to the Rising Consciousness Show, 20 minutes of soulful insights and powerful tools to elevate your life experience and create with higher clarity, intention, and vision. I'm Tara Antler, intuitive healer and soul coach.
And I'm King Gabriel, spiritual teacher and practitioner. And we are the co-founders of Ascension Academy of Light,
a global center for spiritual growth, intuitive healing, and soul alignment.
Get ready to blast off.
Welcome back. We are so grateful to be here with you for another episode of the Rising Consciousness Show. Today we are talking about the consciousness of money, a very important conversation I think that everybody needs to have, children, adults, and everyone in between, so that we have a different relationship with money. I mean, we're interacting with money all day long. You are utilizing money all day long to pay your bills, to take money out of the bank machine. You use your card, you have your credit cards to pay for your vehicle, your gas, your food, your services, your coaches, your mentors, etc., etc., etc. And so when we look at rising consciousness, it's really important for us to have this open conversation about rising the consciousness of money, so that we don't feel like we are controlled by money, that we're out of control regarding money, and that we can actually have a very different money conversation.
I agree. It's one thing to watch money and think, well, all the things that people think about money, there's lots of thoughts about money, as we know already. But it's another thing to be able to experience what you can do with it when it's a tool that you get to use, right? When you can make the changes that you want to make. And it's a medium of change when you think about it, at least for now, right? It's a medium of change. If you wanted to build a new house, if you wanted to have your kids go to a certain place or enjoy a day or whatever, it kind of takes money to do that, right? So really and truly, it's a tool. And if we can get into that a bit more and see what we can do with that to have that come and flow easily to us instead of us stressing and straining to have it come, that would help. Yes. Yeah.
100%. And so it's time for a new conversation. This is where we want to kick off, is it's time for a new conversation, because we know there's all these old conversations about money, scarcity, strain, budget, savings, debt. There's all these old conversations about money. Today we're not going to linger on that. We want to talk about a higher conversation about money. So let's first talk about what is money. We talk about this a lot in our Thrive in Fives. Whenever you've attended one of our Thrive in Five workshops, or if you haven't yet, we do these quarterly free workshops, Thrive in Five. And one of them every year is all about money and changing the relationship to money. But let's give a synopsis. What is money?
Money, like I just said in a little discourse I had with myself there, apparently. What is money? Money is a medium of change within this place we're in, right? If you want to do anything within this place, right, with others, it has to have some form of exchange so that they feel valued for what they're doing as well, right? Now, you could be a great enroller and enroll people in something for what they can get out of it, and they might not want money for that. That's one way around it. But really, it's just a simple way of keeping the value equal between the people that are participating in whatever you have as a vision or you have as a mission, right? So that's how we see money. And when you think about it, as I said, with the enrolling and getting people to see a desired effect in whatever it is for them, what you're looking at is they're still wanting something. They're still wanting some value. So really and truly, when you think about what money is, it's a value holder, right? It's a tool that's used to hold a specific value. If you were bartering in a bartering system, for instance, right? You'd put in, let's say, a certain amount of hours helping somebody patch their roof or whatever. And then those hours, depending on the value of those hours, you could then trade in those hours for, let's say, you go to somebody who's a farmer, would give you a certain amount of fruits or vegetables or whatever based on those hours. That's still money. It's still money because it's a form of exchange. And a lot of people try to avoid money, but in the end, it's just the value holder. It's the space or the element that we chose for this experience to hold that specific value. And then you could exchange that value as energy and energetic exchange between one and another, right?
So think of money, whether it's on a card or paper or coins,
Yeah.
as Gabriel said, a space holder.
Yeah.
It holds the value.
Yes.
It's not money itself that does the thing. It's not money itself that buys the thing. It's not money itself that makes the world go round. As they say, money makes the world go round. It's not
the money.
It's the energy that's imprinted in that money. So money is a certain value.
Yes.
It means something. It's not the
Yes.
money itself. You could literally take money and just throw it to the wind and people
It's
wouldn't
paper.
even, it's paper or
Just
coins,
paper.
it's whatever.
Yeah.
But the moment there's value, when you
Yes.
value something,
Yes.
now we're talking about value and money holding
Yeah.
that currency. Money holds that value.
Yep.
Just like me holding this book. Think
Yep.
of money as holding something.
value, yeah.
This book is holding my ideas on paper, right? Money holds the idea of the value that you place on it.
Exactly. If everybody was to agree in one moment that money no longer held value,
Then money would just
it'd be
disappear.
nothing. It'd just be paper. It just you'd see kids folding paper planes out of money and doing all kind of stuff, and parents burning money to heat up fires and stuff like that because it didn't have any value anymore. But for the time that we've agreed on it, it holds that value.
So that helps in terms of the relationship as well that you have with money, because if you can look at that when you have numbers in your bank account or paper money, most money now is plastic money. It's plastic paper.
Right.
There's coins. But again, we want you to think about not just money as money. Think of money as value. And then where does that value come from? Because like Gabriel said, people could just say it's paper or it's a paper plastic. But you place the value, which means you are giving it meaning, you are giving it power. So that's where it all comes from. You give it the energy, you give it the power, you give it the meaning, and you give it the value. So really what we're talking about then is you valuing something. What do you value? What do you value in your life? What do you value in your perspective? What do you want around you? What's the experience you want to have? What's the heaven on earth experience you want to create? That's what we're talking about. So when you value something, if you value having, if it's really, really hot outside and you value having air conditioning, you might go get an air conditioner. If it's really cold outside and you value being warm, you would go buy a heater or have some form of heat source because you value being warm. If you like eating healthy foods and filling your body with nutritious, healthy, beautiful things, you value those healthy, nutritious things, so you go buy them. If you value learning something new, you go and pay to have that something new with your money because you value it, right? You could take any example in the world, from your phone to your bills, to travel, to what people call the luxury expenses, the luxury investments. It's all value. Some people value traveling by car, by plane, by boat, by train, by sea, right? You get to choose because it's in your hands. It's in your consciousness. So this is about changing your relationship, your consciousness with money. And when you can start to see from a place of value, what do I value? Then when you go to look at your money, you can then say, I value this. Therefore, I place my power in this. Let's say my book is the money. I place my value, what I love, what I value to be awesome in this money now, in this book. Now you're going to go out into the world and you're going to be like, now I'm searching for that thing. I'm searching for that wherever to place my value, which is money. And then you find it and you go, oh, I really love this vehicle. So then you give your notebook, you give your money to that dealership or wherever to say, I like this vehicle. So here's my money. Here's my notebook. Here's my value. This is what I value. This is what I want. This is with anything. You could take this for anything. You could use any example. Anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I want to say that naturally, you'll be inclined to place or invest in what you value. Naturally. So really the question is, what do you value? That's really what it
question.
is. What do you really value? If you look at what you value, naturally you'll be inclined to invest into that. That will be important to you. Yeah.
So the next question is, what is the actual consciousness of money?
Sweet. I love this. So is that a question for me?
Yeah, go for it.
Take that out?
Go for it. Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so the consciousness of money, just like we say, where does money come from, right? It comes from you. The consciousness of money is the consciousness of having what you value, right? Because think about it. If you already have what you value, you're vibrating at a frequency that is that of having. You're more confident. You feel like you could do what you need to do or say what you need to say to have exactly the experience that you would like to, because you feel empowered. You don't feel lacking and moving towards it or begging or pleading or any of that stuff. You know you have it. So the consciousness of money then is the consciousness or the conscious awareness of the source that is within you that has all, everything, and is expressing it through you, right?
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah. So however you get there, right? Some may have wonderful things to say. I have a special statement that I say that I work with people with to share. And it's simply, I'm sustained and maintained by the love of, and you can insert God, source, spirit, creator, whatever resonates most with you, whatever that source is for you. But when you get into that space and you feel that, right? What you're doing is allowing yourself to start to receive what's already there. You're starting to express more so what's already there. You're consciously aware of your abundance. You're consciously aware of what you have within, right? So this is the thing. This is the consciousness, because consciousness is all you believe and accept as true. We know that already. All of us know that already, right? It's what you believe and accept as true. So if you believe and accept that this universe, source, spirit, creator is actually supporting you and you are walking in that and living that, won't that be expressed as your life and as your experience? And then money itself will come and will fill the gaps exactly where it needs to, because that is what you've agreed to as the way that you express your value, right? Yeah.
And I would just add to that for me, the consciousness of money really depends on you.
Yes.
So if my consciousness is elevated, then how I'm going to view anything, including money, will be elevated. If my consciousness maybe sits a little lower, maybe I'm sitting in scarcity or fear or worry or concern or shame on any level, then that same consciousness will then have to be placed on money too. See, we're the power. So when we know that about ourselves, and I say this to our community all the time, you are so powerful. They hear it from me 1,000 times minimum per year. When you recognize your power and you recognize that you're the thing that's generating the thing, you're generating the consciousness. If my consciousness is that of fear or scarcity or worry or shame, that's not just going to show up in money. That's going to show up in relationships. That's going to show up in other areas of my life because it's coming from me. So then it does us great service to do that internal healing work, to clean up whatever we've got going on, whatever stories we have said about ourselves or other people have said about us, to clean house so that none of that is being placed on the consciousness, right? None of that is being placed on money, for example. So it's all dependent upon you. So the consciousness, the money is dependent upon you. You could take 50 people, you could take 50 million people, and they all have a very different consciousness of money. Why? They might have learned the same thing. Maybe they didn't. Either way, if you taught them, if you said to them, money is energy, and you just left it at that, the consciousness of each person would change how money shows up.
Yeah.
Right? So you could take even 50 people that have the exact same, there goes my pen. There it goes. You could take the exact same, let's say, teachings. People have learned the exact same thing about money. And yet when you enter in the money conversation, the individual consciousness will determine what comes next about money. So you could take somebody who has a really high consciousness about money. They're like, I love money. I have such a great relationship with it. There's a really beautiful experience. So money shows up in a really beautiful way. It's a beautiful happening. There's beautiful flow. Then you could take someone else on the other end of that spectrum who has maybe scarcity coming up or fear about money, or maybe they don't have a healthy relationship with money. And all of a sudden money is kind of hit and miss, feast or famine, shows up and then goes away, because of the relationship, because of the consciousness that's within the self. So again, if you want to change how money comes into your life and how it flows, it does us great service, because that was the next question that I have. Why is it so important now to increase our consciousness when it comes to money? And I would say because, and then I'd love for you to answer this as well. For me, I think it's really important for us to do that, because if we want to have great abundance, great life, create the best experience ever, create the heaven on earth, we, at least in this version of the game that we're playing on earth, we utilize money. So we want to have the money, we want to have the resources, we want to have the abundance to be able to do the things that we want to do and not feel limited and not feel capped. So this is why it's so important for us to change our consciousness, because again, if consciousness helps with creating the value, which is then placed on money, I want to make sure that I'm clear on my value and I'm clear on my consciousness, so that when that gets placed automatically on money, I'm in the clear.
Yeah. It's like playing by slightly different rules in the same game, right? You make up your own rules as you go, right? And you have the opportunity to do that when you break free from the old rules, right? So the way I view this money thing too is like, I had to bring it back to a sport because, I love sports, right? So it's like swimming, right? Water to a swimmer is something different than water to a regular person who just drinks water and deals with it in that way. To the swimmer, water is this wonderful thing that you dive into that pushes you, that you push on, that you feel, that you move and maneuver, and it teaches you about yourself because you feel how you move through that medium. You feel yourself in that medium. To the average person who doesn't really swim or do any of those things, water is just something to quench your thirst, take a shower once in a while or whatever, right? But it's a whole different experience of that thing, even though the words that I say from the outside of it won't necessarily make perfect sense unless you're in it, right? There is a distinction there. And so even for the person that views money, let's say, the person who's not financially invested or on the other side of that, they're running away from money in a sense. They don't want to deal with it. They just want to be exactly where they are, want to have nothing to do with it, go live in the bush somewhere or something like that. And people do that, by the way. Some people do, right? They are still paying attention to that money. In fact, by resisting it and going off living in the bush, it's even more of a situation that they've created in their minds as an aversion from money, which makes money a part of their life still and makes them feel like if they're lacking, right? To the other person, on the other hand, who loves money, who's all up in it, the experience of money then is like, they love the smell of that money. They love dealing like Canadian money with the maple syrup smell and all that stuff, right? They love that, right? They love the smell of that. And it means something to them. They value it, right? Let's say we value it. I like the smell of it, right? And the fact is, it's two different experiences of it, right? And as you value it, you keep it. You naturally will keep what you value. You'll have around you what you value. It'll be in your field, right? So for one person who doesn't value it, well, they could care less. They won't take care of it. They won't invest it. They'll try to get rid of it as quickly as possible, by the way. This is a part of our manifestation and a part of our expression as well. We try to keep it away from us, actually. Whereas the person who really values it will have lots of it around them and have it circulating and flowing and doing things and making changes. Think about the people who make the greatest change in the world, by the way. The people who can make the greatest change, even if it's bad change, even if the change is deemed as bad change within the world, they can make change. Why? Because they have that value that we're speaking about set up in a place so that they can, right? So this is the consciousness of money. It's not about good or bad or any of that. It's about, if you have the consciousness of it, it'll show up in your experience. If you don't, then it won't.
And I think this is a valuable conversation for always, especially right now, because we keep hearing the world and what's happening out there. And again, I've said this for years. You hear all these things of what's happening out there, what's going on out there. And it's important for us whenever we hear that to go, okay, out there, but what's happening in here? And it's a really great opportunity for growth because something is always happening out there. But what are you going to do about it? Something is always going on out there. What are you going to change in here? Because we know that reality in the world gets created through in here to out there, but then we get stuff reflected back to us. So I think this is a really great opportunity for the world, actually, for all of humanity to look at our money conversation, our money consciousness, and where does it need to maybe up level? Because if we hear that out there, there's all these things that are happening that are not so favorable regarding money. What's interesting is I'm in a lot of circles where there's incredible money conversations happening, where there's so much abundance. I read something the other day where someone, their yearly to work with them for a year was something like $20 million, and people were paying it. I also heard the other day that someone in their one-to-one for a month was, I think, $20,000. I heard the other day that someone for their hourly rate, this is astronomical. This is the most astronomical thing I've ever heard, actually, around money and value for service. For 1 hour, $1 million. And I was like, what? And you should have seen the comments of this. And we were like, what? But this is what I'm saying. There's these two extreme polarities happening right now. One that's very scarcity focused, where there's a tightening, where there's a contraction and a constriction, and people are tightening up. If that's what you're seeing and hearing, then that must mean that there's some sort of reworking on your consciousness internally that's asking for an upgrade, right? Because whatever we see is a reflection of us, and it shows itself to us so that we can see it to upgrade it and change our consciousness. If you're hearing and seeing the other side, and maybe you're seeing both, then maybe both are happening. It means also that you're up leveling your consciousness to a place where you can have these higher level conversations where you're just like, oh yeah, that's just a normal, $1 million for an hour. That's just the normal. And other people will be like, what? But that's an up level as well, because what is money? If money is value and money is consciousness, does it matter if it's $1 or $1 million?
Exactly.
It really doesn't matter to the universe. It doesn't matter to creator God, the infinite, the divine. It doesn't matter. It only matters to the human, and more so to the consciousness of that human and to the value of that human.
Yeah.
So if we're seeing these polarities in these extremes, then this is a really great opportunity for us as a society, as a culture, to really up level our money conversation and money consciousness, because everything exists. We see it.
And I want to break this down in a way that we can understand based on your example there. If you have an hour with somebody, right? And that person is just there to talk about themselves and talk about what they did, and it doesn't in any way increase your experience of yourself, then paying $1 for that is too much already. Right? $1 is too much for that. So whatever you invest in that, that's not a good investment. The return on investment is very low. If, however, you have time with someone, that 1 hour, right? And they tell you everything that you need to structure, all you need to make $20 million within your year, for real. And if you execute this plan, you know for sure it's going to work, and you feel that and know that, then is it really hard for you to fork up 1 million for them for that one thing, knowing that you'll make 20 times that? And that is where the value conversation is. Because if that 1 million turns into 20, that's a no-brainer. If you could put 1 million into something, like let's say the ATM thing, where if you were to put $1 into this magic ATM and it was spitting out $3 for every dollar you put in, that's like 1 to 20 instead, right? You put it in $1 and 20 comes out each time. Won't you just put as much dollars as you can into that to get as much out of it as you can? That's the value conversation.
Yeah.
And that's the difference. That's why some people charging like $1 million for an hour would seem absurd to somebody who's like, oh, $1 million.
Some people are like, I can't even afford $100 an hour.
Yeah. Someone would be like that. But to the person who's hearing that and hearing,
they're not looking at how much money am I spending.
They're looking
at
investment.
Oh, I must be getting a huge value upgrade
Exactly.
for this $1 million. No problem.
They know that person can deliver that value. So they then are willing to invest in that fully because they know at the end of that,
it's not a money conversation, it's a value conversation.
It's value. And that's the difference. And this is the slight difference in consciousness that has to take place for some of us. Because some are still thinking in the old terms of, oh, so many hours equal this amount of money. What? Hours, money, what? Makes no sense.
Or so many components, right? So many components in this
I have
program.
This much
this leads
in
to
order
this.
for that to be that. No.
We have to start looking outside of that now if we really want to change the money game that we're playing. Because if not, then we're going to keep confined in the old money structure and the old money game. And this is all changing. We see it happening. This is why it feels so stretchy and gooey and funny and exciting and wobbly and warpy and contractive all at the same time. Because when those moments like that come, it's because we're ready for the change. We're ready for a new conversation. We're ready for a new consciousness, in particularly right now about money. And so let's kickstart that early. Let's get that going early. Don't wait till a crash. Don't wait till something bottoms out. Don't wait till you get into a strange situation. Start working on your money consciousness every single day so that you can get to these places where you're like, it's not about how many things for this. We're not trading this for this. It's about the value that you see in something that you are placing your power into. So then you have no problem if somebody says, oh, this is worth 50,000. You're just like, okay, I see the value. Not, oh my God, that's a lot of money. If you do that, then you've just taken your power outside of yourself. And now all of your power is in the money, and the money controls your power. Not you saying, I get to choose, I value, which is power. You see the difference? So why now? It's, I think, the most important time because we're seeing the strain out there. It's important for us to look at any strained energy in here and start to up-level our consciousness and our conversations about money itself. And there's another example I just want to give very quickly. When I was in the Leap, the coaching movie with Jack Canfield, John Gray, there was a gentleman who was there, and he's very well sought after in terms of business coaching. And he was one of the first, I think he's in his 70s now. He was one of the first to change the how much are your services, instead of it being, oh, I charge $20,000 per hour or whatever it was as his consulting fee. He didn't do that. He based it on, well, what's the growth you want to see? And if the company said, well, I want to take it to 20 million, he then says, okay, I will guarantee that I'm going to help get your company to 20 million. And when you reach that 20 million, you're going to pay me 10%. Is that fair? And they're like, yeah, for sure. Because Gabriel, you could do the math on that. Value.
Yeah.
20 million.
2 million.
Is 2 million.
Yeah.
Right? So that to me is such a beautiful conversation because he's not coming from a scarcity mindset. He's fully invested in saying, I'm going to help you create this. And the person says, yes, I see the value in that. And I'm happy to give you 2 million.
Yes.
Right? So there's so many different ways to look at money. This is our time to change the stories and the consciousness. So what are one of the ways that people can start to work with their consciousness now, changing the consciousness of money?
Well, we had a conversation about what money is. That's number one. Switch your idea about money completely. The idea that we've been given about money is this idea of exchange hourly for a certain amount.
Yeah.
All right, all these wages about minimum wage and all of these things. What is a minimum wage? Let's think about that for a quick second. It's the minimum amount you're willing to pay somebody to do any type of work that they're going to do, right? So it's some sort of standard where this is the least you can pay somebody. Who wants to be interested in being paid the least they could possibly be paid to do something, right? It's a different type of thinking. Money is about value. How much value can you bring forward? How much value can you present? That's the conversation. If you can create great value, right, then the money thing is a whole different thing.
Yeah.
It's nothing to do with hourly anymore. It's what service am I bringing forward? What product, what value am I bringing? How am I helping? How am I serving? And then that is a whole different consciousness. What am I bringing forward? And I want to see that in a form that appreciates and continues to grow. I bring more value, therefore I express more money. I create more money, literally. Right? So that's the two right there. Number one, switch out of the minimum thinking idea. If there's anything regarding that in you anymore, let go of that idea of money completely, right? Let go of it. If you see it anywhere, that's not what money's about. Money's about value. And switch that to what value can I bring forward? What can I bring forward? How can I bring more value to the people that I'm working with, to the people that I see, to the people that I get to live with and enjoy? Yeah.
And I would add to that, definitely be tending to your mindset, your belief systems, work with the energetics and the emotions within yourself, meditation, all of that internal work, like I mentioned earlier, is really, really important because then when you do that internal work and you're working on the pieces that Gabriel just mentioned, everything gets to flow together and everything gets to change and comes up. And then you get to play a totally different game on this planet. I would also add on there that opening yourself up to more money possibilities is really, really important. And maybe that starts with setting that intention. I set that intention all the time. Spiritualist Creator, open me to new money possibilities, right? As I'm tending to those different things that we just talked about, I'm always opening up to more possibilities because I want to be in vibrational harmony and alignment with bigger energies that are coming in. So I want to set that intention. And I find every single time that I do, wonderful things start to come in. There's something that we called in very recently, and people are having a very hard time understanding what it is, because when you tell somebody, well, you can promote this product and you're going to get 100% of the profits. And people are like, huh?
How does that work?
Because there's a different consciousness happening. It's bigger than what we think. It's bigger and it's outside of the regular way that we even know business, for example. Right? So when somebody says, and they're like, what? It almost stumps us because it's outside of our paradigm. It's outside of our belief system as to what money possibly is. Because like Gabriel said, if you're used to a minimum wage or you're used to, this is my hourly rate, you're kind of locked in. You're in this set formation. When somebody comes along and says, oh yeah, you can make 100% of the profit, people are like, huh? It shatters those paradigms. It busts those glass ceilings, as they say, so that we can start to open up to new possibilities. There are many. If you're curious as to what we're talking about, by the way, send us a message and just say, I'm curious about the blueprint. We'll send you all the information to it because it's fantastic for many different reasons, which that's a whole other episode that we could go into. But I really wanted to end it with this for myself, and then you can speak on your last notes. It's so important to open to new possibilities because the old way is dying out. The old way of moving money, living with money, dealing with money, it's falling apart at the seams. So trying to hold on to things that are falling apart, you know, if you've done any personal growth, holding on to the old self is detrimental to you, right? So let it go, let the old fall out, but then do the work that we were talking about. Be open to new possibilities. As the new possibilities come in, it might challenge you. It might have you thinking, huh? What now? That's good because it's opening you up. It's growing you to what could be possible that's based on your value and your consciousness. And when that starts to happen, miraculous things start to come in that could actually provide the financial means and flow and abundance and resources that you've been praying for, that you've been asking for, if you allow it.
Yeah. And my final words are, get really clear on what you do value. You know, get really clear on what you value. Start to dream a little bit again. Right? Allow yourself to dream into the things that are valuable to you, that are meaningful to you, that make your life worth living. Right? And then from that point, get into that gratitude space from that source that is giving you all that goodness, that is letting you express life in the way that you are able to. Right? You're capable of doing it, and this is the step towards it. So we look forward to seeing you and working with you as time goes on. If you're interested in the blueprint, like Tara said, shoot us a message. And otherwise, we'll be seeing you very soon for the next episode.
Thanks so much.